Hello and welcome back to another episode of Leah Talks. Today we are joined by Emilia. So, Emilia, can you just let everybody know who you are and what you do?
So my name is Emilia Villegas, and I'm a health and wellness coach for women and the founder of Flow with Emilia. As a 41-year-old woman who's been through her own hormonal healing journey, I became very passionate about empowering and helping women to optimize their hormonal health, take control of it and optimize it naturally and like with sustainable life changes. With my one-to-one coaching program, I guide and support them through this journey of holistic well-being. And also, I would like to add through my own personal experience and by talking to my clients, I found the importance of also having a spiritual practice, whatever that looks for anyone, because of course it looks very different for every person. But that's something that I like to incorporate during my coaching program as well. I think in the end, it's essential that we approach health holistically. We're all different. There's no one size fits all. And I think that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, I love that. And can I just say, for 41, you look absolutely amazing. I would never have guessed
Thank
that.
you. Thank you
So
so much.
hopefully, I guess what you do is helping with that as well, because I know when you feel better on the inside, you look better on the outside. So
Correct.
well done.
I
So
agree.
with the health coaching then, is that like because to me my mind straight away goes to like periods and menopause, but is there something else in that as well?
Well, it's of course my specialization is like periods, hormones, nutrition. Of course, it's part of it because we know nutrition is part of everything. But again, when I say holistic approach, we cover all aspects of health, including mental health, which is obviously, as you know, I'm sure, affected directly by our hormones. So we cover mental health and vice versa, of course, mental health, physical, emotional, and spiritual health. So it's just the whole aspect. Of course, some clients choose to focus more on one more than the other. But at the end, I love this phrase of like, doesn't matter how much kale you eat, if you have so much mental stress or stress going on, the kale won't do anything for you. So you need to work with it as a whole.
Yeah, so I can see how people would need a coach to help them with that as well, because there's a lot of parts to it, isn't it? It's not just like you said, focusing on one part. There's a whole spectrum of all different things that you need to focus on. So obviously, I know you said that you got into this because it helped you. So how did it start? How did you start your journey into this?
Yes, of course. So I started like many women, I guess. I was on hormonal birth control with the hormonal IUD for 14 years. I'm someone who doesn't want to have kids. So for me, just having something that would prevent me from pregnancy was really important. But as you might know, with the hormonal IUD, you don't get a period, sometimes for months or years on end, which now I know, but at the time I didn't really bother me because like we see it happen time and time again. Doctors tell you it's okay. It doesn't matter if you don't have a period. But of course, that has a lot of like repercussions on your health eventually. So after 14 years, when I was around 38, 39 years old, this is a couple of years ago, 39, I started having like really, in my case, it was really strong migraines for days on end, like once a month. I've had migraines since I was like in puberty, but they were like once or twice a year. But like I started having them like very regularly and they were very debilitating. My energy was really low. I'm someone who's normally very energetic. I just didn't feel like myself, and I didn't understand why, because I've never felt that way, and I felt really lost. My libido was also low. There were so many little things that I just didn't understand why they were happening. And then as I started, actually, it's a conversation I had with my mom, of course, someone who's been through the whole journey of hormones. And it actually made me realize that I was experiencing hormonal changes. And like my intuition, something inside me for the last few months had already been like bothering me about having the IUD. It never did. But like 6 months before that, was already bothering me, but I chose to ignore that voice.
Mm-hmm.
That was red flag already, but I chose to ignore that voice. You learn from it until it just got to the point where I couldn't anymore. I went to the healthcare system and I didn't get any support from it. I was told that if I wanted to not have kids, then my only option was to get on the pill. And I was like, but I just want to clean my body from the hormones right now. I don't need that. They said, well, then we cannot help you. That's your only option. So you can imagine I left the consultation really sad, crying, the whole thing. And then I realized to take it upon me. And I realized, well, you know what, then I'm just going to help myself and start seeing how I can learn from what's happening to me. Luckily, I loved the topic. So I dove into it straight away with podcasts, courses, and I started really rebalancing my hormones naturally.
Yeah.
I am right now working with a functional medicine doctor, but the first probably year and a half or so, I did it all on my own, just naturally with everything I was learning and reading. At the same time, I also started training to become a health coach. So that also that's very helpful on the journey.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a roller coaster, but it's learned a lot.
I love this conversation because this is so needed. Like there are so many women out there. And as soon as you said migraines, I was like, oh my God, yes, like I can completely relate to that. And I don't know. Well, yeah, luckily now, obviously I know why. But I don't know if you saw on my Instagram stories a couple of days ago, actually, I put up a story about I wasn't feeling great and I went to the doctors and she was kind of dismissing everything. And this is a couple of years after I got married and she was dismissing it all. And she ended up trying to convince me that my husband was the problem and maybe I wasn't happy in my marriage. And I left that room like, I never said anything about my husband. Like, I don't know where she was getting all of this from. And I said it, I felt down. I had headaches. I just wasn't feeling right. I felt like completely brain foggy.
Yes.
And then it clicked for me. It was the pill. So I stopped taking the pill. Okay. And it takes a while, I guess, to get out of your system. But I would say a year on after that, I felt like a completely different person. Like it's so amazing how it actually can change your personality as well. And I do think a lot of women need to know this, and not women, teenagers, because you get put on it when you're a teenager and they don't know how it's affecting them, especially when they just first start their periods and then they're getting all this in them, and it's not good, is it?
It's not, though, because also it makes me really sad because it's all these like teenage girls, they're still developing. Like that's like our biggest growth spur in our whole lifetime will be during puberty. That's like the fastest we're ever gonna age or grow. So you have so many changes with your hormones that if then you give the pill to someone, the disruptions, they'll be able to handle it at the beginning because we're much more resilient when we're younger. But then that's going to affect the effect that's going to have on the health. It's going to be really it can be affected very negatively. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against doctors or pills. Like Western medicine exists for a reason. But the thing with the pill and the IUD and all these hormonal or ways of preventing pregnancy, women are given this option. At least I think I saw somewhere it was at least 50% of the women that are taking the pill it's not to prevent pregnancy. Yeah. This is a quote on a book I read from Dr. Jolene Brighton. She's amazing on this topic. She's been a big voice about it. She wrote a book, Beyond the Pill, and she was saying 50% of women who are taking the pill, I think 50% or more, but at least 50% are not taking it because of pregnancy prevention. So, and then you're taking it endlessly for years on end, thinking it's fine, and it's not. I mean, I'm so glad you kind of listen to your body, listen to yourself, and you came out of it, and you're feeling so much better. That makes me really happy when I hear success stories like that.
It's just a shame it took so long, right? Because I think I was 28 when I met my husband, and so I must have been, I don't know, 29, 30 when I realized this. It took that long for me to realize. But same, I didn't get on it. Wasn't on the pill to stop pregnancy. They put me on the pill because I had acne, and they were like, that's going to clear it up. And it's like, they didn't. Well, I wish I knew what I knew then, eh? Because I'm like,
exactly.
I just changed my diet, I reckon that would have done a lot for me, for sure.
Exactly.
Because as soon as I cut out, well, I actually turned vegan partly vegan, but I cut
Yeah.
out all dairy and all meat, and my skin cleared up right away. And I feel like if I had known that when I was a teenager, would it might have been a coincidence maybe, but would it have
Yeah,
helped? I would rather have changed my diet than have this hormone shoved in me. But you don't know no better when
exactly.
you're 16. So
Yeah, exactly. And I think one message I like to get across to my clients and people who are listening, it's don't feel bad if you don't know about this, because we are just getting educated on this topic. Like we're all just learning about it. I mean, I was learning at 39 years old and now 40, and even now I'm 41. I'm like learning things about my body and my period that I'm like, why is this not taught when we're actually about to get our periods, right? When we're teenagers. So it's good to be kinder to ourselves. We are just getting all this information, and women's bodies are being studied now, which is also something that hasn't happened a lot. So luckily there's progress being made on that area. Hopefully it goes faster. But, it's good that we cut ourselves some slack as well, because I think sometimes it can be really frustrating not to understand our bodies, and then learning that we don't know anything about it obviously doesn't help. But, luckily there's more and more information out there now.
yeah, it should
So,
definitely be a thing that's kind of taught in schools, and or they should have like a
yeah,
mandatory reading list. And there's such
yeah,
amazing books out there that they can read.
yeah.
So on the kind of pregnancy note and stuff, then what would you say to anybody listening who wants to come off the pill but is worried about getting pregnant? Like how would you say they can prevent it? Obviously there's condoms, but is there anything else that you'd recommend?
I would say to start like just tracking your cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Start tracking your cycle, because once you familiarize yourself with your cycle, then you realize that only just a few days during our period we are able to get pregnant, which is like during ovulation. It varies per person, but it's just literally during ovulation, and our body can give us so many signs for it, like our temperature changes, the mucus, like our cervical mucus also changes. So if we are in sync with all of these things, then that's like already like big, like a weak way of also connecting with yourself and living in alignment with your cycle. There's a very famous method. I'm not an expert on it, but there's so many experts out there, which is called the FAM method, fertility awareness method, where you can actually track when you're ovulating to obviously prevent a pregnancy. So there's so many resources out there that I'll be obviously happy to share, where people can actually, learn about it. But I would say the first thing, it's learning about our cycle, how it works, and start living in alignment with it. Because when you understand your cycle, you also will understand your body needs, your emotions, your mental state.
Mm-hmm.
So many things come to light when
Yes.
you really have a cycle strategy. And obviously, getting pregnant or not, it's one of them.
Yes. Yeah. So if anybody wants any of those resources, feel free to contact Emilia on
Yeah.
Flow with Emilia on Instagram.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
on that note, what was I about to say? Cycle tracking. I only started doing that a couple years ago, and I have already seen such a major difference
Oh,
in
that's
my
amazing.
personality. And
Yeah.
like I always know on day 3 of my period, I want to clean this house, and I am going to be stressy as hell if this house is a mess. So it's like it's little things like that I think you start noticing in yourself, and times when you're going to be social and when you're not. So don't plan like big parties or going
Yes.
out things if
Correct.
you're not feeling that way, because it's just going to impact your mental health then as well, isn't it? Because you're going to feel down about it because you think, what's wrong with me? I don't want to be sociable today. Or
Correct.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And also because, like, let's say, give or take, on the second half of our cycle, we're less stress resilient, which is fine. It's just how, like, the dominant hormone will be progesterone, and progesterone is more of a calming hormone.
mm-hmm.
So that's why we also feel like more on hibernation mood. We just feel less social, less taking on the world, and that's okay. But I feel like when you, as you said, when you have a cycle strategy, you just become kinder to yourself as well, because you understand, well, I'm just not feeling it today, or I don't want to wake up early to do X workout. And that's also fine. Because also the exercise element is a big thing, right? We sometimes tend to push ourselves, especially in the second half of your cycle. Sometimes we're not feeling great about our mental state, sometimes our bodies or how we look. and this is also normal because our metabolism changes. Our weight fluctuates. It doesn't mean gain or lose, but our weight fluctuates, just, natural processes. So then because women don't feel great about it, then they're like, oh, let me just go to the gym and crush it. And if you're going to be about to have your period and you go and do a HIIT workout, that's just going to cause more harm than good, as opposed to maybe just going for a walk, doing some yoga, some light weights. That's going to bring your body more in like balanced homeostasis like state.
It's so much to think about, isn't it? Like
So
you are
much.
different. They're like on the 4 different parts of your cycle. We are completely different. It is so much to think about because I was thinking the same actually. I'm recording some new yoga classes now for my new course, and I've purposely made sure that this week and next week is my recording weeks because I know the 2 weeks after that I am not going to be up to it. So it's like, right,
I love
record
that.
loads this week.
Yeah.
I've learned that, it's took a few years, but I've actually managed to learn that now.
Yes, correct. I love it. I love when I hear other women doing that with their cycles, because I also, and we know, I mean, you've experienced it as well. It's not an easy thing. It's a lot to think about. It can be overwhelming, but you just take it one step at a time. You don't need to do all the changes at once. I think neither of us did. You just do one thing. And then once you're kind of like used to it, then you start doing another thing and another. And then next thing you know, after a couple of years or months, however long you want, then you'll have like a whole like strategy around it.
Yeah.
But it's again not creating that pressure of wanting to do everything at once, learning everything at once. I think as women, yes, our hormones fluctuate every single day, but that's also like a beautiful thing because it's our body is talking to us in such a different way, and we should embrace that. It's like, we have this other voice kind of telling us how to feel. So I also like to embrace with my clients how connecting with your body, because then it can tell you so much and you can learn so much from it.
Yes. Yeah. And this is another reason why I love yoga, because when you're on the yoga mat and you are listening to your body, listening to your breath, learning how your body moves, and it does help you to actually understand more about yourself. Like it's not often we'll walk around the house and think, oh, what does my body need right now? But when you're on your yoga mat, you are completely focused in on you. So do you do you do yoga yourself?
Actually, yes, I was gonna say I actually got into yoga like seriously like maybe 5 years ago. I love it. I even did like yoga teacher training online during COVID. I want to do one offline, of course, but and this morning, speaking of, for example, I'm on my luteal phase right now, getting my period next week. So I woke up, I had a good night's sleep, but I was like, I don't feel like, like a weights workout. I love weights. And I actually did one of your challenges, one of the challenges on your one of the videos you did like from the challenge last week, and I loved it. It was just perfect. It was what my body needed, something more like stretching, relaxing, something short. It was just perfect. I was like, I don't need a long workout today, but I want to move my body. And it was just it made me feel actually really good. So I do love yoga.
It definitely can help. And for anybody listening who is interested in yoga, there are different types of yoga as well. Like, you have got the more gentle stretching, but then you've also got like power yoga and what's the rocket yoga? Oh my God, have you tried rocket yoga? That is extreme.
Once. I love that. But not for the luteal phase.
That's it. So there's all different. So even like yoga, you can use the different types of yoga during your cycle as well. So it's an amazing thing to do. So I feel like we've completely got off track with the questions I was going to ask you. So I guess one of the other questions was if somebody is interested in working more with their cycle. I feel like we've kind of covered quite a bit, but what are the main 3 pieces of advice would you give?
So to work with your cycle, again, as I said before, right, we're all different, but that's the beautiful thing, and I think I'm a big advocate of covering the basics first, like things like nutrition, exercise, sleep, our daily habits, mindset, routines, whatever they are, because once again, I'm sorry, I should have said this first, tracking your cycle will be probably step 1. And when I mean tracking your cycle is from the day it begins, the menstrual cycle, not just the period. So the menstrual cycle begins on day 1 of your period. So it will be good to start tracking it, how you are behaving throughout that whole month, maybe for a couple of months to have some more like comparison, but then just cover some basics with it. Because our body, like our hormones will change, and so do our needs. So when we start covering the basics, sleep, one of them as well, then we can move to other stages. But I would say just start with that. If you, for example, one very more straightforward, because of course life gets on the way, but one more straightforward to do is, if you're going to start on day 1 of your cycle, which is when you get your period, maybe try for that length of that period to just slow down if possible, because of course I understand sometimes it's not, but slow down, maybe have some more rest, be more gentle to yourself, make sure you have adequate sleep when possible, nourishing foods, and see how you feel different from like maybe the period before where you were like go 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 go. So that could be a good like thing, just to start doing little comparisons on like more straightforward like daily habits.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love that. So when you're on your period, it's more slowing down. And then what are the next 3 phases?
Yes. So the 4 phases are, well, the menstrual period. So that's day 1 from your cycle. Yeah. So both the reason why we also feel a little bit more like sluggish and tired and in hibernation mood, it's because all our hormones, like our sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone, which are the dominant hormones throughout the entire menstrual cycle, those hormones are going to be really low. So what happens is, as we start getting also during our period, because of our bleed, we're losing nutrients in our body, and minerals and vitamins. So that's why it's also very important that we eat properly. Also not skipping breakfast, all these kind of things that obviously our body needs a lot of nurturing and self-care during those days. So then during this like phase, the menstrual phase, which lasts, I mean, it varies for every person. I'm just gonna, for the sake of this conversation, I'll put like some average number, but 1 to 5 days, let's say. The follicular stimulating hormone, FSH, will start like recruiting follicles that contains the eggs. So it's like, and the FSH hormone actually it will talk between our ovaries and our brain. So our brain is heavily involved during this, because it's our brain as well talking to our ovaries throughout the entire cycle.
So that's where you get kind of like brain fog, is it?
Exactly.
It's too focused on something else. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why in menopause, it's such a common thing, brain fog, because our hormones are not produced in the same way. And that path of communication starts like breaking up a little. So that's why brain fog is such a big thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the FSH hormone starts recruiting some like eggs, and one of those eggs, in some cases, will be chosen for ovulation, which if that's what the woman wants, then obviously that would help with the pregnancy. So then the follicular phase, which is days 5 to 12, more or less, we'll start producing estrogen. Estrogen will start building the endometrium or uterus lining, and start producing as well like cervical mucus. Cervical mucus, it's actually what's going to help, if that's the case, help the sperm actually get into the egg. It's like a slide. That's why it's so like slippery and wet, because the sperm needs that like help. During the follicular phase, because we start producing more estrogen, that's why our energy starts rising, because estrogen is a hormone. Well, like you're active, you feel like you want to take the world on with you, you feel confident, and then once then we'll go to ovulation phase. So we'll go to the ovulation. This is where estrogen is at its peak, and this is, let's say, the fertile window, which will last like maybe 5 days or so. It depends, which is why it's important to have other metrics to track this. The egg is released from the follicles, heads into the fallopian tubes, searching for the sperm. So this is why it's the fertile window. Progesterone will start being produced on this like stage a little, because the progesterone also helps prep the body for a potential pregnancy. Mm-hmm. And then the last one will be the luteal phase, give or take, will be the last half of the cycle. In the luteal phase, if the egg is not fertilized, then this is when our body will start preparing for for like our bleed, which is where we're going to shed the uterus lining. But progesterone, for a little bit, it's going to start like building up, building up, building up. And this buildup will help thicken the uterus lining and preparing the whole body for it. Because progesterone is on the rise, it will, that's when we start feeling like a little bit like, okay, we're going like, into winter mode.
Yeah.
So just more like hibernate and more chill. And technically, with evolution, the reason behind this is because, of course, if someone wants to be a mother, then you need to start entering this phase, right, of like relaxing, because you need to prepare your body for like for a baby, right?
Yeah.
So evolution.
Yes.
And then that's it until like obviously if the egg wasn't fertilized, then it would just dissolve or die, and then our body will start preparing like just to shed everything through a bleed.
Yeah.
And then we get our period. And back to day one. Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and everybody's is different, isn't it? And I've started using that Stargaze app, I think it's called.
Yes.
To track just like a Stardust. That's it.
Yeah.
Stardust.
Yeah.
And
it's so good.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely amazing. And it's made me realize that like my first phase is so long that then my second phase is really short. And then my last phase is like forever. And I'm like, it's no wonder sometimes that I'm like so kind of, I guess, worn out and just need to rest a lot. And like obviously this week is my go week, so this is when I'm recording stuff, but I know that crash is coming. So it's good when you know your own body and you know your different phases, I guess, and to see the difference, because like you said as well, preparing your body for it. I know for a fact that if I am doing way too much before my period, that I'm going to have the worst period, and it messes up the rest of the cycles. So it's like, it's knowing your body, isn't it? And resting in that phase that you need to rest, going in the phase you need to go in, and just working it all out. So where can people find you to work with you? Because I mean, this has been an amazing conversation, and if anyone's listening and they want to get into all of this, which I would totally recommend because it completely changes your life, how would people work with you?
So for now, you can find me on Insta at Flow with Emilia. And by the way, I like the word flow, which is why I chose it, because it just can mean so many things. It can mean the flow, as in our period, flow of breath, of energy, movement, hormones. So for me, that like kind of covers a lot. So Flow with Emilia. And I'm currently actually working on my website, which I'll be giving some updates about it on my Instagram page. Hopefully it'll be launched in the next couple of months or so. And I work remotely, so online or face-to-face if you're based in Amsterdam, which that's where I live. I'm also doing face-to-face with my clients. So if you're interested, just send me a DM. If you're interested in maybe exploring your health, learning more about your hormones, if you want to do changes, improvements, or just simply want to understand how your body works, feel free to send me a DM. I offer a free discovery call. So we can just chat then, take it from there. No commitments. We can have the discovery call and just take it from there. And just, I think my last message I like to give people is just, you're not alone. Our hormones are constantly fluctuating, and that's a beautiful thing as well. It can be challenging, of course, but it's a beautiful thing, and you're not alone.
Yes, I love that, because even though every single woman is going through this, we don't speak about it enough. So you do kind of feel alone, don't you? So yes, you're definitely not alone. Go and grab your free discovery call with Emilia. And thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you, Emilia.
Thank you, Leah. And thank you as well for the interview.
You're welcome.